Hey, this is C&D Channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my predictions of Bellator 136, Brooks versus Jansen, which happens on April 10th. Overall, solid card. Prelims has some good fights, like Fabricio Guerreiro versus John Teixeira. Really good fight there. Saad Awad is fighting Rob Sinclair, not too bad. Joey Beltran versus Brian Rogers. Solid fight there as well. Any crazy prospects? WEC veteran Chad George is fighting as well. On the main card, solid fights all around. Good heavyweight fight with Tony Jansen and Alexander Volkov. Solid heavyweight fight there, actually. Both of them are not too bad. Marcin versus Alexander Sarnavskiy. Very good fight, actually. Interesting stylistic matchup there. Rafael Carvalho versus Joe Schilling. Very good stand-up fight right there. And Will Brooks versus Dave Jansen. Will Brooks, he looks like he has a top 10 skill set. Dave Jansen, well, he's a solid fighter in his own right. Well, I'll get to the actual prediction, but definitely earned his spot to fight Will Brooks. So let's get started. Okay, for the Bellator lightweight title, Will Brooks fights Dave Jansen. Jansen has a 20-2 record, 1 win by TKO, 10 wins by sub. He's 35 years old on a 7-fight win streak. Trains out of Sports Lab with the likes of Pat Healy and Mike Pierce. He's a good wrestler, good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. His stand-up's really improving. He showed a really good leg kicking game when he beat Rick Hahn. Will Brooks, 15-1 record, 5 wins by KO or TKO, 4 wins by sub, 28 years old on a 6-fight win streak, training out of ATT. He is the current Bellator lightweight champion. He's a strong wrestler with really good ground and pound. His top control is good. His takedown defense is really good. His cardio is good. He goes 5 rounds pretty easily, and actually, he looks like he gets stronger as the fight goes on. His stand-up's greatly improving, as well as a pretty good kicker as well. Yeah, I've been impressed with Jansen. I actually didn't expect him to beat Rick Hahn, especially the way he did. Using good leg kicks. I picked him to beat Marcin, and he actually fought Held in his wheelhouse. Held was going for the leg locks and whatnot, and Jansen would defend him. He'd go to the ground with Held, and held his own. Held his own. He's always been a pretty solid fighter. That's the thing with Jansen. The problem is, as solid as Dave Jansen is, Will Brooks, in my opinion, is a top 10 fighter, maybe even a top 5 fighter. This guy's wrestling's on another level. Stand-up's really improving. His overall athleticism, though, really strong. I gotta go with Will Brooks here. I've always been on the Will Brooks hype train. Man, did he dispatch of Chandler in that second fight pretty handily too. I can't help but see just good stuff for him. Honestly, wouldn't mind seeing him in the UFC when after his contract is done. Like I said, a really good fighter. Yeah, Will Brooks for the win. Next fight with that, Rafael Carvalho fights Joe Schilling. Carvalho, he has a 10-1 record, 9 wins by KO or TKO, and 1 win by decision. He's 28 years old. He's pretty tall for the weight class. He's 6'3", but shows Joe Schilling. Carvalho is on a 10-fight win streak, most recently beating Brian Rogers by TKO. He has some good stand-up and is pretty heavy-handed. Joe Schilling, 2-3 record, 1 win by KO, 1 win by sub. All 3 of his losses are by submission. He's 31 years old. He's a kickboxing champion. Fights out of multiple organizations, Glory and whatnot. Right? Yeah. He is a finisher. He's never been past the second round in MMA competition. He's a strong kickboxer. One thing I really like about Joe Schilling, though, he's a good clinch striker too. this one should be all stand up, and from a stylistic standpoint, I don't. If it's just a stand up bout and you don't have to worry about the ground, I have to favor Joe Schilling here. You know, Carvalho. You know, when he fought Brian Rogers, I mean, he looked a bit nervous. Actually, I wonder if he was a bit nervous in that fight, but he didn't look that great against Rogers until like I think it ended in the first round, until like halfway through that round. You know, it should be a fun fight nonetheless. I expect Schilling to just be the more technical striker, for one thing. And yeah, I think that should be enough, really. The much more technical striker to get him to win there. So Joe Schilling for the win. Right after that, Marcin Held fights Alexander Tiger Sarnavskiy. Marcin Held, 20-3 record, 4 wins by KO TKO, 11 wins by sub. 23 years old on a 5-fight win streak. He's got some strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills, especially strong leg and foot locks. His wrestling is greatly improving. His top control is really good, and his stand-up is also improving. Sarnavskiy, 30-2 record, 7 wins by KO TKO, 18 wins by sub, 26 years old, also on a 5-fight win streak. Trains out of Rust Fighters and Rain. He has some strong stand-up, pretty heavy-handed, and it's funny, he has a lot of submission wins, but a lot of them are like he rocked a guy and then submitted them. But he's done that to like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts too. Like he did that to I forgot the guy's name, but he managed to, he got that triangle choke on that one Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Rocked him first and then got that triangle and got the tap over a black belt. With that said, Marcin Held. A lot of people that know me and know how I pick Marcin Held fights, I usually pick against him a lot of times. I underestimate the guy. Just flat out. I tend to underestimate the guy. Sometimes he shows to be like, I want to say a one-dimensional BJJ leg lock grappler type guy. You know? He kind of really proved me wrong in that Patricky Pitbull Ferrari fight. Took him up against the cage, took him down at will, used more top control and a more control-based grappling game against Patricky. Sarnavskiy has lost to the likes of Rich Clemente and Will Brooks. He was not outstruck. He was outgrappled. With that said, I'm going to go with Marcin Held because I think he can emulate the styles of fights that or fighters that have beaten Sarnavskiy, take down and control, maybe even get the opportunistic sub if need be. So I am going to go with Marcin Held here. I have a I have a relatively bad track record with Marcin Held. I picked him to beat like Nate Jolly, which is funny because like he was getting ground and pounded pretty bad before he got the armbar. You know, it's like he has noticeable holes. I picked him to lose against Dave Jansen, and like every fight, but like between that, I think I haven't picked Marcin Held correctly. Those are the only like times I've ever picked him right. And usually I pick him to lose, but this time I'm gonna pick him to win. Like I said, Rich Clemente and Will Brooks have managed to take down Sarnavskiy and control him on the ground. I don't see why Marcin Held couldn't do the same. Marcin Held for the win there. Next fight at that, Tony Johnson fights Alexander Drago Volkov. Volkov, 24-4 record, 17 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. Has 2 losses by submission. 26 years old. He's really tall for the weight class, 6'7", on a 5-fight win streak, training out of Rust Fighters. He is a former Bellator heavyweight champion. He's a strong kickboxer, really good kicks. Remember when he knocked out forgot the guy's name. Knocked out that one dude with the head kick. Mighty Mo. He knocked out Mighty Mo with the head kick. He's not that. The few times I've seen him off his back, though, he's shown not to be very good off his back. And his takedown defense is a bit questionable. Tony Jansen, 8-2 record, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 4 wins by decision. He's not as tall as Volkov. He's only 6'1", but he trains out of AKA. I actually did watch his fight against Tim Sylvia the other day. You know, he shows to have some pretty solid. He's a solid wrestler, and his stand-up's actually not too bad either. So that's actually tough for me to call because Jansen could very well take down Volkov and maybe win with superior wrestling. However, I like the striking of Volkov. He throws in good volume. He's pretty accurate. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Alexander Volkov for the win there. But I am a bit worried that Tony Jansen might just go a more wrestling and grappling-based strategy to beat Volkov. Okay, on to the prelims. Just to tell you, I am familiar with a good amount of these guys, but I'll tell you if I don't know anything about these guys. So we got John Mercurio versus Greg Parker. I don't know anything about these guys. And what I mean by that is I haven't watched footage of these guys, or I may have seen them on a Bellator prelim or something like that, but just don't remember them. So I'm just going by record here. Okay, John Mercurio, 6-7 record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. Has 2 losses by KO or TKO, and he's on a 2-fight losing streak. Greg Parker, 4-1 record, 1 win by TKO, 3 wins by sub. His 1 loss is by submission. He's a finisher who's never been past the 2nd round. I almost never pick against. I generally don't pick guys with losing records. So Greg Parker for the win there. Next fight after that, Joey Beltran fights Brian Rogers. Joey Beltran, 15-11 record with 1 no contest. 11 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. That's has 3 losses by KO or TKO. He's 33 years old, trains out of Alliance. He's actually only won 3 of his last 12 bouts. It'll be his first cut to 185. He is a brawler with high volume striking. He's actually good in the clinch. His strength is bullying his opponent against the clinch and just striking from there. He also do a lot of dirty boxing and whatnot. He's actually a decent wrestler, both offensively and defensively. He's not a bad wrestler by any means. He's kind of a tough and gritty, resilient type fighter. Brian Rogers, 11-7 record. 9 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. Also has 3 losses by KO or TKO, 31 years old. He's only won 3 of his last 8 bouts. He has good Muay Thai, really strong knees. He'll throw that flying knee, real heavy-handed. His takedown defense is decent. He's relatively weak off his back, and his cardio is especially bad. I would even go so far as to say his chin is a bit suspect. Not gonna lie, I think his chin is a bit suspect. You know, Joey Beltran's got a good chin. I mean, despite the fact that, yeah, he got knocked out by Rampage and that the spinning back fist by Manuel Newton, you know. I mean, that thing has got dynamite for some reason. But outside of that, he has a good chin, you know. Only other time he got knocked out was by LeVar Johnson. That guy's like one of the heaviest hitters in MMA. So, you know, Brian Rogers does have the power to knock out anyone. However, I'm going to go with Beltran here. I just think he can weather the early storm. That's the type of fighter Rogers is. Weather the early storm. rally back, crowd Rogers, especially against the cage, work his volume striking, chip away and chip away. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Joey Beltran for the win. Next fight after that, Rob Sinclair fights Saad Awad. Sinclair has a 12-2 record, 9 wins by KO TKO, 1 win by sub. He's 35 years old on a 5-fight win streak. Last fought in 2012. Saad Awad, 17-6 record, 7 wins by KO or TKO, 7 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO or TKO and 2 losses by sub. 31 years old on a 2-fight win streak. Trains out of Millennia MMA with the likes of Lawrence Larkin. With Awad, he has some good stand-up. He's pretty heavy-handed. And he can actually handle himself on the ground. He actually has some good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. I remember that one fight where he fought Duarte. Joe Duarte. You know, got that really cool triangle and just started unloading elbows. You know, he knows what to do on the ground, you know. So, Sinclair, you know, he's pretty good everywhere. Stand-up's good. I can't really say he has, like, any particularly great skill set. But, good everywhere. But I gotta go with Saad Awad here. You know, I think he's just a decent fighter, heavy-handed. Should be able to do enough to get the win there. Next fight after that, Luke Bondole fights Ben Jones. I actually don't know anything about Ben Jones. He has a 4-4 record, or I haven't watched any video of Ben Jones. He has a 4-4 record with 1 no contest, 1 win by TKO, 3 wins by sub. All 4 of his losses are by submission. He is a finisher. He's never been past the second round. And trains out of CSW. Josh Barnett trains there. And Shayna Baszler too, if I'm not mistaken. Luke Bondole, 4-1 record with 1 draw, 1 win by sub, 3 wins by decision. He's pretty tall for a weight class. He's 6'2" and trains out of King's MMA. I'm actually trained under Luke Bondole. I actually went to a boxing class in UFC gym, Costa Mesa one time. He was the trainer. So he actually got knocked out pretty bad in his last fight. But this is, you know, I got some bias here because this guy trained me. You know, he was pretty cool too. It was just me and my brother and him. I was I was the one doing the demos. You know, I've been doing boxing for like 2.5 years by that point. So yeah, I gotta go with Luke Bondole. You know, it's just like I said. I mean, it was only 1 class, but you know, it was a good class. It's memorable. So you know, I gotta go with him for the win. Next fight after that, Chad George fights Mark Vorgeas. I don't know anything about Vorgeas, or I haven't watched a video of Vorgeas. He's a 5-2 record with 1 draw, 4 wins by sub, 1 win by decision, and he trains out of Sub Fighter. A lot of these places too are in the Southern California area. Like Rain is right by my house. Kings is not that far away from me. CSW, yeah, it is something of a drive for me, but you know, Sub Fighters are actually like down the street, or not down the street, but you know, it's not that far from me either. But yeah, Chad George, 15-8 record, 4 wins by KO TKO, 8 wins by sub. Also 6 losses by submission, and he's 32 years old. He is a former WEC fighter. You know, George does have a lot of submission losses. He's not a bad grappler though. Stand-up's not too bad. He's like got a lot more experience. So I'll go Chad George for the win there. Cleber Luciano fight. Next fight after that, Cleber Luciano fights Aaron Miller. Miller has a 14-9 record with 1 no contest, 3 wins by KO TKO, 1 win by sub. Has 7 losses by submission, and he's up against Cleber Luciano, who the Cleber gym is like a 30-minute drive from me. I know some guys that are that trained under Cleber Luciano. So, Luciano 10-5 record, 1 win by TKO, 7 wins by sub. He also has 3 losses by KO or TKO, and he's on a 2-fight win streak. And he is a legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. If I'm not mistaken, he was the head Jiu-Jitsu coach for one of the seasons of The Ultimate Fighter. He was like, I think he's Tito's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach, and he was the head Jiu-Jitsu coach in that season of Ultimate Fighter with Tito. One of them with Tito Ortiz. And yeah, he was, if I'm not mistaken, he was a jiu-jitsu coach for like that team. I don't know anything about Aaron Miller, but I mean, dude, he has 7 losses by sub, and he's going up against a really high level Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. So I'm gonna go Cleber Luciano for the win there. As far as that, Fabricio Guerreiro fights John Macapa Teixeira. John Teixeira, 17-1 record with 2 draws. That 1 loss is to Hugo Wolverine in the UFC. 4 wins by KO or TKO, 10 wins by sub. He's 28 years old. He's on a 2-fight win streak. Trains out of Novo União. He's got some strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. This guy, he fought on the Ultimate Fighter. I think the first season of Ultimate Fighter Brazil. And he was actually in the Bloody Elbow, one of the Bloody Elbow scouting reports too. He's legit. I mean, I've always had my eye on this guy. Strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills and pretty solid in the stand-up. He has some gas tank issues. I remember like against Hugo Wolverine, he missed weight, had some gas tank issues. And in his last fight, I mean, I forgot who he fought, but it was mainly a lot of striking, and he was doing pretty well, but he seemed to wear down by the 3rd round. He fights Fabricio Guerreiro, though. I'm pretty high on also 20-3 record with 1 no contest, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 13 wins by sub, 24 years old. He's got some good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills, good offensive takedowns. I think he has a judo background, if I'm not mistaken. And his stand-up is solid. Guerreiro's got wins over Desmond Green. He submitted Shabilat Shamilayev, and I believe in his last fight, by a Kimura. Patricio Pitbull, when he fought, Patricio Pitbull opted for more of a takedown and control strategy. He didn't even stand with the guy for long periods of time. But this is a good fight. Really, this is one of those like totally under the radar, but both these guys are pretty good prospects. I think you can still call them prospects. Good skill sets generally everywhere. I'm gonna go with Fabricio Guerreiro for the win here. I'm pretty high on Teixeira though. I'm pretty high on Macapa. I don't think he was always training at Novo União. I think that's a more recent move. So that should help his game. I do like Guerreiro's offensive takedown ability, and he does have good stand-up as well. The power is Teixeira, good on the ground, good grappler himself, and I like his stand-up as well. With that said, Fabricio Guerreiro for the win. I can't even pinpoint what it is that maybe strength of competition. It's just youth, it's like I said, some of those guys he's beat, like Des Green and Shabilat Shamilayev, some pretty solid wins. I'll go Fabricio Guerreiro on that one. Let's try that. Jonathan Santamaria fights Steve Ramirez. Don't know anything about Steve Ramirez. He has a 0-1 record, and his 1 loss is by decision. Jonathan Santamaria, I don't know anything about him either. Or I haven't watched a video of him, that's what I say. But he is 3-0 undefeated, 1 win by TKO, 2 wins by decision, and he trains out of Rain. I'll go with Jonathan Santamaria just because the other guy's coming off a losing record. And finally, I don't know anything about, or haven't watched any video of these guys. Bonilla fights AJ McKee. AJ McKee has no pro MMA bouts. I don't know anything about the guy. Bonilla 1-1 record with his 1 win by decision and his 1 loss by sub. Coin flip, Marcos Bonilla for the win there. Okay, let's recap. On the main card of Will Brooks over Dave Jansen, Joe Schilling beating Rafael Carvalho, Marcin over Alexander Sarnavskiy, and Alexander Volkov beating Tony Jansen. On the prelims, I have Greg Parker over John Mercurio, Joey Beltran beating Brian Rodgers, Saad Awad over Rob Sinclair, Luke Bondole over Ben Jones, Chad George beating Mark Vorgeas, Cleber Luciano beating Aaron Miller, Fabricio Guerreiro over John Teixeira, Jonathan Santamaria over Steve Ramirez, and Marcos Bonilla over AJ McKee. So that's it for my predictions for Bellator 136, Brooks versus Jansen. If you have any comments, just leave them below. That's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.